Welcome to Stoughton Media Access Corporation's Hometown Business Show. Today, I'm delighted to bring you a registered financial advisor right here in Stoughton. It's Reginald Lamb. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And you're with Waddell Reed.
I am.
Okay. And what I'm excited about interviewing you is you've made this career jump that is just like, it's brave, it's exciting. You were a musician.
I was, yeah, absolutely.
And still are, right?
I mean, I still am.
You don't stop being a musician.
No, I love playing music, and I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to continue to play music even as I work as an advisor.
That's awesome. So everybody, I think, could use a good financial advisor in their life, all right? And I think that many people feel they can't afford one. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to that? I mean, you've got a lot of goods to deliver,
sure,
but you can't get your foot in the door. So talk to me about that.
Well, in every stage of life, you have to make decisions about what you're going to do with your money. And sometimes it can be difficult to do. And having an informed advisor help you make correct decisions can be really helpful. Sometimes that form of advisor comes in the form of your friends. It can be your family, but you can also use a professional help. So in that situation, I like to be there for people. If they need help making informed decisions about what they need to do with their money, then they come to me and ask for help.
All right, so if I'm watching this show, I'm saying, okay, this guy looks interesting, but what's the gig? He's probably going to charge a fortune. So how is it that you can do it and make it affordable?
So there are multiple ways in which we can charge people, and every situation is unique and different. Not everyone obviously can afford an advisor, but they still may need help. So what you can do is you can purchase books, you can read on your own, or you can just call and ask. And perhaps someone would be able to talk to you for 15 minutes and make a decision as to whether it would be wise to see someone and take the time to sit down and talk with them. In many situations, the answer can be quick, and it can be helpful just to confirm what you already know from a common sense perspective.
If I could interrupt, you seem like the type of person that would take an interest in someone regardless of their station in life.
Yes.
It seems to me we want to probably end up throwing your phone number up there, right?
Yeah.
So what's your phone number? So we can get that right out there. So if someone right now wants to jot it down.
My phone number is 781-890-4599.
All right. And I'm guessing that someone rings you up on this show and says, Reginald, I liked what you were saying on that show. Can you help me? And what are you going to say? Well, if you don't make six figures, we're not interested.
Sure, certainly not.
Okay.
One of the things that I love about this job is that I get to meet all sorts of people from all sorts of walks of life. And I'm willing to meet with anyone and just sit down and talk and listen to them, find out what their needs are, find out what their aspirations are, what their goals are, and find a way to help them. And that doesn't necessarily, you don't need to spend a ton of money to do that. I'm sure there are advisors out there who work with particular types of people, but that's not who I am. I love meeting with everyone, and I love helping people. So if I can help people, regardless of their walk in life, I certainly will make every effort that I can to do that.
Yeah, I think anyone like myself, I've been around the block, knows that musicians, that's not, unless you make it really big, you're working hard to earn a living. You mentioned actually off screen, you mentioned that you worked 10 to 12-hour days. You'd start out with teaching in the morning or practicing
in the morning,
then teaching, tutoring, then going to college and be mentoring, and just 10 or 12 hours a day, and the pay wasn't exceptional. So certainly you're in a position to understand people struggling to get through.
That's right. And that's really a big part of my practice is prior to being an advisor, I worked as a classical musician. And both my wife and I did that actually, and it's a very challenging lifestyle. You work long hours, hard days, and you don't take home a lot of money. And as a result, you have to either learn how to take very good care of your finances, be very disciplined about them, or you need to get help. I took a particular interest in taking care of my family's finances and being really disciplined about it, and used that as a transition to move into advising when I did. And so I have a particular affinity for people who really, they might have a salary, they might do well, but maybe they don't have the time, maybe they don't have the discipline, maybe they don't have the understanding to really help themselves prepare for the future. And so they come to see me. And because that's a particular group of people that's in my heart, I'm willing to meet anyone.
And I'm thinking you can say, look, I've done what you're trying to do. Right?
Absolutely.
And I'm just getting started, and,
Yep.
and I can do that. So I'm thinking you have a few tricks up your sleeve, like you could share with anyone in the audience. So, and I'm thinking I'll throw one out there, and you can kind of jump on it and add a couple. But the idea of making your own coffee,
Yes.
instead of going to a Dunkin' Donuts, and I don't mean to put Dunkin' Donuts or Honeydew Donuts or any donuts, whatever. I don't mean to say that any one is worse than another, but at $2.30 a coffee, that's not disciplined, is it?
No, it is not. In fact, one of the first things I noticed when I started taking care of my own finances personally was coffee. When you work 12 hours a day and you might be at 3 different locations, you're working multiple jobs,
Yeah.
It's really easy to get hungry, it's easy to get thirsty. You want to stop, maybe get a sandwich from a restaurant, or you want to get a coffee because you think, if I'm driving so much, what's a coffee? It just helps me pass through traffic on 93
that's right.
or 24 or something like that, and it helps pass the time.
Worship there or something. It's like, I deserve this, right?
And one month I found out that I spent $40 just buying coffee. And I didn't have that $40 because it went on my credit card. So I didn't realize that I spent, if I went out 2 or 3 times a week, I thought 2 or 3 times a week I'm out 12 hours a day, right? That's not very much. But you buy a latte once, and you buy a coffee once, and you buy a croissant.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden you've spent $10, $12 that week. And every week you do the same, you can easily spend $40, $50 a week just on,
more, yeah.
or more
40, 50 a week,
on
yeah,
coffee.
sure.
And the question is, can that be better spent? Is that how you want to spend your money? If you knew you were doing it, would you continue to do it that way?
So what do you tell people about coffee then, just for starters? It's something small, but it begins people on this path of discipline that you're going to need to have an effective financial future, right?
It's about discipline. You have to be willing to make a few hard choices about how you're going to spend your money. Sometimes you need help making decisions as to what is necessary and what is not, and that's where I can come in to help. But you really do have to develop the discipline. You have to be willing to sit down and take a look at how you're spending your money and make tough choices about how you want to spend your money and what your goals are. If your goal is just to live life freely, right,
Yep.
and you're not concerned about the future, then you're not necessarily worried about it. But if you have a family, you have children that might want to go to college, you might be wanting to save for a home, you've been renting for a long time, and you think, I might want to save for a home. Maybe you have a lot of student debt.
Yep.
And these things can really burden you down, and they can really affect your quality of life. And so you have to take a disciplined and focused approach and look at what you're doing. And if you don't have the time or the discipline to do it yourself, then you reach out to someone like me who can come in and help you and help you build a plan for your future.
So you'd sort of do a survey kind of their finances, and then you say, look, here's where you're going to share with us what it is you'd like to accomplish, and we're going to show you what the road to get there looks like.
So my process is to meet with clients and to learn about them, to learn what their goals are, learn about your family size, learn do you rent a home, do you own a home, what kind of debt do you have? There's many questions and many pieces to the pie, and you gather them together and you find out what your goals are, your aspirations are, and I help people build plans for the future so that they can have a clear picture of how they want to move forward.
So Waddell Reed is the company.
Yes.
So what are they? How do they empower you? What kind of tools do they give you?
So Waddell Reed is the company that I use. They're particularly focused on planning. And that is one of the main reasons that I chose them, is because of my background, coming from a place where I didn't have a lot of resources to deal with. I could focus on planning and help people really prepare. And so every person in every walk in life has a particular need, or they have a particular desire. And Waddell Reed gives me the tools and the resources to be able to meet those needs.
Okay. So we started off with saying coffee, so I'm thinking you're telling people, all right, canteens, right? Get yourself a canteen, make your coffee in the morning.
And don't leave them on the top of your car.
Okay. Good for you. Yeah, I've done that myself. So what are the sort of tips and tricks that you could share with the audience, that whether they called you for a plan or not, that here's something that you'd love to see more people do because they gain control of their financial lives?
You know, each person's situation is different. And so it's, rather than comment on, you need to specifically do this, you need to specifically do that, it's better to meet with a client individually and talk about each individual's needs, because they're all different. You know, an elderly individual and a young person who's just out of college, who's got a lot of debt, their needs are completely different. And I should be able to tailor a plan to fit each one of them.
What if someone is saying, look, I don't even have enough money to even think about a plan? Is that true? Is that can you say that? Can you actually say that's true, or would you more or less try to invalidate that concept and instead say, no, everyone can use a plan? If you're making $100 a week, you can use a plan.
Well, I'd like to see everyone have a plan, and I do call the approach that I don't think I have enough money, reasons not to do it. It really is really punting to the other team, and your strategy ends up being, my head is in the sand and I'm hoping for the best. That is
wait a minute, I like this. But just like, so, no, and the reason I like it is I think it's very much a picture of what goes on for a lot of people.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
Is, you basically put your head in the sand and you hope that when you come back up that something will have changed for the better.
That's right. Many people are in tough situations, since the economy is not really taken off for tons of people. It might have, it might not have, but every person has a unique situation, and sometimes their financial lives can be overwhelming for them. And they really are afraid of reaching out and talking to someone. And as a result, what I say is that is a strategy. Their strategy is head in the sand and hope for the best. I don't think it's an effective strategy. It may be an effective strategy for some person, but that is not an effective strategy for many people. And that's where I come in, because you want to have a comfortable conversation with people and really get to know them and really understand what they need, what they're really looking for, and then help them build a plan that's comfortable for them so that they can have a clear picture to move forward.
So would you have a meeting like at your house or at their house or at your office? How do you actually conduct a meeting?
I generally conduct the meetings in the way that's most comfortable to the people I'm meeting with. Sometimes that could be at their house. Sometimes it could be at a coffee shop or restaurant, or if they feel comfortable, they're welcome to come to my office as well.
Wow. So it's a relatively easy. What does it cost, though? I mean, do you say, well, our first meeting's free, or do you say our first meeting's $150? Or what do you do?
Well, I'm willing to meet anyone, and it doesn't cost anything. Okay. What I like to do is be very clear with people about, after we meet, I will let you know how much it costs, and then you can make a decision on that. And you can say yes or no, and that's fine. But let's at least have a conversation about it and find out whether it's something that you think would be helpful in your life.
Do you consider yourself a hard sale person or soft sale? And let me introduce myself for this,
yes,
by the way.
Sure.
So, I do a lot of rentals in my business,
yep.
And we're very soft. It's like we show them what we have. If they're not interested, we give them an opportunity to be not interested, and we actually don't work very hard to close the deal. I know it's probably wrong sales-wise, but we just feel like the property, we create enough value that it should speak to itself.
Yes.
Which do you think works well in your particular field?
You know, I can't speak for other people, but for myself, I'm not a hard seller. I really want to be able to help people, and they may need help, they may not, and they can say yes and they can say no. What I say is, let's have a conversation and let's talk about it, and then you can make a decision from there. You're not going to offend me either way, but it's worth talking about. And then maybe you can learn a few things, and maybe you find that you would like to move forward and get professional help.
Switching gears a little to like
Yeah.
the personal side.
Yeah.
What got you excited about doing this for a living? I mean, it's quite a difference from playing music. So, what was the thing, just on a very personal level, not so much to share the knowledge that you've gained, but what was that like for you, and what happened? I mean.
Well, I fell into it in some ways because being an independent contractor, being self-employed, I had to take care of my own budget. And I did make a number of poor decisions. It really affected me. And then as time moved on, as I started doing it, I started seeing the power of being disciplined in your approach to saving, and in your approach to spending, and your approach to preparing for the future. And you see that happen over a period of years. It's not a one-time process, it's a constant thing. And so that's what made me interested, is seeing it work in my own life and seeing the power of it and seeing the effects that it had on my family. Now that I have a child, just seeing, being able to help him prepare for the future. I see in the future that I would like him to go to college. I would like to be able to help through that, because that's the way I believe to help. And I want to be able to prepare him and give him the best opportunity to do what he wants to do. And if I had not taken a very clear decision to be disciplined myself, I probably would not end up in a position where I'd be able to help him, because I'd still be in trouble myself. So because I did that, it became very interesting to me. And then as a musician, I was traveling long distances in order to survive, and doing all sorts of different things. And the musician life is very hard.
You mentioned Bangor, Maine.
I was
down
in
to the
Bangor,
Cape.
Maine, that's right.
So like 5.5 hours away.
I would travel to Bangor, Maine. In fact, I had a friend that would travel with me, and we would go up for Saturday rehearsal, and we would leave at 4:45 in the morning to get up there for rehearsal from 10 to 1, from 2 to 5, and then we'd travel back and get home around 10:30. So I'd leave at 4:30, come back at 10:30, 11 at night.
Yeah.
And that's not a lifestyle that I really wanted to, that's a hard lifestyle. And
it challenges this picture we have of the hard rock, Mick Jagger kind of a lifestyle.
Yes,
it isn't quite the same, is it?
It is not the same at all for classical musicians and for many rock musicians as well. And musicians of all genres, it's a very tough lifestyle. You are out at night a lot. And it's not conducive to raising a family and being around and being present. And that was more important to me, was being around my family and helping. So I looked to, when I was going to have a child, I was looking to transition. And since I had an interest in finances and I'd been doing it for myself for a long time, it made sense, and it was an easy transition.
Now, do you have a particular license do you need a license for financial advising? I think you're registered. I'm not sure what that means.
Yes, you do need licenses in order to become a registered financial advisor, and I do have those licenses.
Is it like a Series 7? What are those numbers?
There's a number of them. You can either get a Series 6 or a Series 7, and there are slight differences with them. I won't go into that, but I have a Series 7 and also a 66. And I also have licenses to sell.
So by my calculation, you have 73 licenses.
That's right.
So, all right. Now, something that has come on my radar, because I'm trying to work with my kids as they buy a home.
Yes.
And in speaking to my son and some of his friends, this generation of 30 to 40, they're in a fitful time for trying to establish any kind of financial foundation. Mm-hmm. A lot of my son's friends are out of college for perhaps 10 years. They finally landed a decent job, but they're still paying off college debt. They might have a $600 or $700 a month college debt. They usually have a few $100s that they owe for a car, or if they don't owe for a car, they will, because that means that one's a clunker and they need a better one, and that's going to be a $500 payment. And they're having a hard time coming up with the money to deposit to buy a house. So what do you say to that group? Like, what can they do better?
So that is.
And you're in that group.
Yeah, I am in that group, and I understand that. I know many people who are in their 30s, maybe even in their 40s, and they're saddled with massive amounts of college debt, and they're put in a difficult position where they might have young children. They're deciding whether they want to buy a home. Maybe they've been renting for a long time, and they have this college debt, and they can't figure out what to do. And each of those situations is different. So I would have to sit down with each one of them individually and take a look and talk with them and find out how I can work with them to build strategies in order to figure out, how to balance all these different aspects, whether it's how much you're paying in college debt, do you have a car loan, do you have credit card debt, are you saving for a home, what about the 401k at work, all these different pieces. And without knowing each individual situation, I can't really make a recommendation. So my recommendation is we would sit down and have a conversation about it and then build, a balanced way to deal with it.
What would you say to someone who, upon watching this interview, said, I'd like to do what that guy does? What would you say to them?
I came from a background in music, and many of my colleagues come from backgrounds from all walks of life, from engineers and singers and musicians, accountants. Becoming an advisor is hard work, as is any job. And so I firmly believe that if you really want to do something, you put your mind to it, you work really hard to do it. And it may work out, it may not. But in the process, if you can develop that discipline, that will help you even in the next stage in life. So even though I worked as a musician, I learned how to get up on my own, practice every day, work hard every day, and I transitioned to a different career. But those are things that I brought with me. They didn't change from career to career. I still have to work hard as an advisor. I still have to work hard. I still have to research. I still have to meet with people. I still have to show up to work. And so in that sense, they're very similar.
Give me your phone number again, just in case someone wants to write it down.
All right, it's 781-890-4599. All
right. What kind of training do you have to do to stay current in your field?
So many of the things that we do require upkeep of just the current situation, the way the regulations and the laws work. So there are regular courses that we have to take in order to remain licensed.
Okay. Kind of a general answer, but
yeah.
What about Trump? Tell me about Trump. I know that's right on the radar. And we have an advisor here in studio who's going, don't do it. Don't. So how is he going to affect your business?
I do not. I'm going to stay out of the political realm. I try.
I love to see people squirm.
Sure.
Just so you know.
There's a changing environment all the time.
Yeah.
And that may affect you, and it may not affect you. And so, I just I try to help my clients in their current situation. Each of their situations is different, and so I try to leave politics out of it.
All right, good for you. That shows you have got some smart answers. I like that. So, as we round out the show, I'd like you to maybe share with us. Maybe think of your biggest success story client, like where you felt you've made a good change in their lives through your advice, and just tell us a little bit about that scenario.
Well, I mean, I would not meaning to talk a lot about myself, but I've seen the success in my own life. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to transition into financial advising. It's because 8 years ago, well, 10 years ago now, I'm getting older, I graduated from school, I had debt, and I was alone. I worked as an independent contractor, and I had some credit card debt, and I was not living a disciplined lifestyle in which I was saving. And I changed that for myself. I put myself on a budget, I got myself out of debt, I saved enough up to build a house and to start preparing for retirement. And now I have a family, I've got a young child, that we live here in Stoughton. And so the success story is me. I've seen it revolutionize my life.
I love the way you say that. That's a great phrase.
I want to be able to help other people do the same.
Yeah.
Really.
That's wonderful. All right, well, I'm going to give some credit out to the people in the background. We've got Leo McGowan, and he's on the cameras. He's a steady hand, does a great job. And I think we have Rich, we have an intern at the controls out there. And then we also have Mike Hammond is out back, Dave Young, Jeff Pickett. So we want to thank everybody. It's been a great show. One more thing from you.
Sure.
If you could do something else, what would it be?
If I could do something else, what would it be? I would be an underwater scuba diver.
Okay, so there's risk.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So, been a great show.
Right.
I want to thank you for sharing what you know.
Again, thank you.
I wish you a lot of luck here in Stoughton.
Thank you.
I'd like to see people in the audience give Reginald a call and see if he can help you out, establish a financial foundation, and do the kind of magic for you that he did for himself. So thank you for watching Stoughton Media Access Corporation's Hometown Business Show.